Hello everyone! Welcome back to more Halloween time! Today we'll be playing Dagon, an interactive horror novel apparently. Apparently this is supposed to be like a really short game, like 30-40 minutes long. It's not supposed to be that long. And it's actually based upon a H.P. Lovecraft's short story called Dagon. I believe that's what it's called as well, so... I'm not too familiar with H.P. Lovecraft or any of his books. Like, I'm kind of familiar with, like, his most popular one, Cthulhu. The big old god from another world comes to our world and kind of starts fucking things over, pretty much. That's, like, all I know. I think there was, like, also a dead guy who kept himself cold all the time in order to live forever or something like that. And then I just remember there was also another story about revolving like rocks too, like a rock in a well with rainbows or something like that. Like I said, I don't know much about his stories, but again, he's like a very important pinnacle. In fact, you guys probably know more about him than I do. Yeah, he's very popular, H.P. Lovecraft, and so a lot of people do take inspiration from him and a lot of his stuff. So let's actually sit down and interact with Dagon, the short story by H.P. Lovecraft. Let us start. Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot. Okay. So there's not much going on here, like you are literally just reading a story, but again, it's a little bit more active. And this game is for free, I should probably mention that too, so if you guys are interested, feel free to check it out. Or check out this video.
I'm writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
You shall be no more? Where do you, Nevermore from Edgar Allan Poe? During the game, you encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Oh, that's cool. So the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the Elder Signs. Okay. You can also access all the found facts later. They will be available in the main menu. Okay. Zoom in. Zoom in, zoom out. Zoom in, zoom out. Zoom in, zoom out. What's that?
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
Oh, are you feeling suicidal? Suicide is not the answer, sir. You should stop.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. Oh! Okay.
When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Okay. Morphine. Morphine entered into use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War, 1861 through 1865, and World War I, 1914 to 1918. It was also sold without restrictions until 1914. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Frederick Schertner, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium, after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. Ah, okay. That's interesting. Can I look at anything else? Alright, yeah, I am very limited, Jesus. Alright, fair enough, fair enough.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Okay. Oh, I'm on a ship too. Am I? It looks like I'm on ship.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
Ah, war. Hard times, man. Hard times.
So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
So was it good or bad? Tell me. Fairness consideration. Okay. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick raids who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops in 27th July 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago, the Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend, may the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adapted during the First Hague Convention of 1899. Ugh. Yeah, good stuff. War's fun.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone, in a small boat, with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Oh hey, good. Good for you, man. Get the fuck out of this place. This place is a dump. That's all I can look at. I don't want to miss any trivia. I'm actually kind of curious about this trivia. But yeah, let's get the fuck out of here. Fuck this place.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
I can see why.
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
Ah, no! Look at the stars, figure out where you're supposed to go. Where is it? Where's the North Star? Oh shit, I'm so dumb. There's the North Star! Hey, how's it going, North Star? How's it going? I so totally didn't see you at first, I'm sorry.
Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Yeah, that seems about right. Anything about the stars? You want to say anything about the stars? Come on now, there's so many of them. Alright, fine. Anything in here I can look at? No? Alright, fine. North Star, how's it going?
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Yeah, we're not too picky around this point. And we're running out of supplies, I imagine. I'm waiting for the creepy stuff to happen.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept.
Hello?
Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Whoa! It's okay, just breathe. Just breathe. It's, is it supposed to be Cthulhu? Some shape, way, or form of Cthulhu?
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
I can kind of see why. I mean, I would probably wake up and be too scared to fall back asleep, I'm not gonna lie.
For there was in the air, and in the rotting soil, a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
Oh, there's even more. Jesus. A lot of them octopi. I think that's like the plural term for octopus. Octopi? Am I saying that right, viewer? I don't even know. Alright.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight, save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Oh, trivia. The Origins of Dagon. Dagon seems to be inspired by Fishhead, a short novel by Irvin S. Cobb about unnatural affinities between a hybrid idiot and a strange fish of an isolated lake. Supernatural horror in literature. H.P. Lovecraft. Hybrid idiot. Oh my. And Lovecraft's dream about a strange island emerging from the ocean and him crawling in the ooze that covered its surface. Okay. I dreamed that whole hideous crawl and can yet feel the ooze sucking down. In defense of Dagon, H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft's interest in the topic stemmed from his aversion to fish and sea smells, in his own words. I have hated fish and feared the sea and everything connected with it since I was 2 years old, but I cannot recall what earlier experience gave me such a profound and lasting aversion to the sea and seafood. Interesting. Dweller in Darkness, Lovecraft, 1927, Donald Wandery. Huh, okay. Any more trivia? Okay.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Ugh. Gross.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might.
Oh, that's not good. There's no ocean. We're kind of fucked as a human race. Or at least all life, pretty much.
Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Probably for the best. I mean, these are kind of moving. If there's something like bigger trying to eat these, yeah, that's probably for the best, my friend. Any trivia? Okay, no.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens. As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time. That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Well, hopefully nothing comes up and fucks us over. Yeah, like, see, these guys are trying to crawl over the boat to get to us. Best if we leave and hope to God we don't get killed by something else.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Oh. I was like, do I go forward or what?
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Oh, there's even a whale. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. There's fuck all I can do, unfortunately, so I'm sorry, buddy. Well, hope your next life is better than this one.
That night, I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Well, we're seeing a lot of nice scenery. I mean, the monsters are changing, but they're at least not trying to kill us. That's all that matters. The Horrors of the Ocean. The creature of the Cthulhu mythos in the fictional underwater city of Arlea? Apologies if I can't pronounce that right, but what else is new? Was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure would make it uninhabitable. Old science. Gotta love it. Today we know that the darkest depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. The deepest dwelling fish we have discovered so far, the Mariana snailfish, can live about 8,000 meters, more than 26,000 feet, below the ocean's surface, in never-ending darkness and at hellishly crushing pressures, hundreds of times stronger than those found at sea level. Upon glancing at the modern photos of deep-sea creatures, such as the angelfish, the fangtooth, or the viperfish, and their truly Lovecraftian characteristics, it's hard not to find some irony in this. Yep. I can agree to that.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
Alright, yeah. You've been walking for a while, might as well prepare for a nice long hike.
I know not why my dreams were so wild that night. But ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
That's true, yeah.
Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Alright, pick up the pack. Let's go.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon. whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night.
Whoa. It looks like it's just part of the sky. What? That's kind of creepy. I'm so interested by this.
Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
They weren't, huh?
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent.
Oh, that's convenient.
Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Alright, no trivia. Gotta make sure there's trivia. I'm actually kind of interested in the trivia.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Okay. So this is where it gets freaky, right? All that was just weird build-up. This is where it gets freaky, right? I'm waiting for it. Waiting!
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature. A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't a work of Mother Nature. Is that something that's entirely different?
For despite its enormous magnitude, and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith.
Oh, okay.
Whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
Well, there's a rock. Something over there. Alright.
The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
Any more facts? Alright.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books.
Is that even hieroglyphics? I mean, I don't know. This doesn't look hieroglyphic to me.
Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like.
It is octopi! I was right! Yeah! I'm so smart. No, I'm not, but shh. Let me have my moment. Please, viewer. Please, let me have my moment.
Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world. but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Storytelling methods. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings at the Mountains of Madness, the Nameless City, journals and characters' notes, the Shadow Out of Time, the Haunter of the Dark, islands emerging from the ocean, the Call of Cthulhu. Oh, there was an island emerging from the ocean? Oh, okay. Or was that like Cthulhu itself, but we all thought it was an island? Again, I'm not too familiar with Cthulhu. Like, I just know everything, like, practically know nothing about it, but still. Or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies. Miko in the Whisper in the Darkness. It's also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also conclude in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details in order not to spoil the ending. Alright, fair enough. There's actually a Nintendo Switch game for, like, the Call of Cthulhu that... Okay, cat. That, you know, maybe eventually I'll get to around playing sometime in the future. Anyway, none of you guys care. You guys are here for my YouTube videos, not my stream videos. Fuck that shit.
Plainly visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men.
Mermen?
Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint. Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer.
Wow. Jesus.
They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips,
Mermen!
glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall.
Ugly mermen!
Curiously enough, they seemed to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their seeming background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself.
Oh, wow. I don't remember reading this in the history books.
I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
Interesting theory.
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
Ah! Oh god, it's here. This is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Oh god. Okay, everybody? It's okay. Relax. We're gonna be okay. I think. I actually don't know. How do H.P. Lovecraftian books end? Does everybody die or something? I don't know. I'll figure it out.
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters. It darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the market, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds. I think I went mad then. Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
Yeah, I'd be kind of scared too if I saw that thing.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing. I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital. Brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
The journalist. Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism. In 1915, he started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by him and other authors. Howard was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticism to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction again for the first time since his teenage years. Dagon, published in 1917, is one of the short stories written during that period. In this example excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explains his attitude towards warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than the conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments at the proper time, take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a He's using big words, leave me alone. In a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. No country is, or ever can be, above warfare, until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. Ah. That's interesting. And I do I understand where he's coming from, because I kind of agree with that as well when it comes to war. But my logic is kind of more like, how can you understand peace if there is no war, so to speak? It's kind of like the whole yin and yang type of thing. You don't know what happiness unless there's sadness, or anger, and tranquility, and stuff like that, you know? Everything needs its opposite in order to survive. So, I get what he's saying, though. It's not quite the same thing, what I'm saying, but, I understand what... But, I get it. I get it. I know what he's saying. Wakey, wakey.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Wait, we knew its name? We knew its name? Dagon was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The rulers of Agag, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Assyria poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word Dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's work, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Huh. That's interesting. Okay.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
Yeah, best to leave it like that. August Derleth and the Cthulhu Mythos. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company, Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's work after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. Ah, cosmic horror. That's what it's called. I remember thinking earlier, my sister likes this certain type of horror that H.P. Lovecraft makes, but I couldn't remember what type of horror it was, but cosmic. She likes cosmic horror. Which I think is just like this evil and like this being that causes so much destruction, but it just exists. It's not necessarily evil. I think that's what cosmic is supposed to mean. And that's why she finds it so interesting. Like, it just exists. It doesn't mean to be evil, it's just doing its thing. Anyway. As a result, the author's works were often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. Oh, okay. So they changed? So he changed the story? Huh. Well, I don't know what the original story is. I just know, like, there's a big, huge, cracking dude, God, fucking people up. That's all I know. So I don't know how he changed it. Oh, okay. Stop right there. Was there a reason why we wanted to look at the clock? Okay, we're just wandering around now. Yeah, nothing's really popping up for any secrets. Alright.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing.
Oh, so... This was... Okay, so the event happened before he started taking drugs. Then he got addicted to drugs. Probably to help with this situation, or at least cope with it. Okay. I think. I'm assuming that's what it is.
I tried morphine.
Oh, okay. Yep. Confirmed.
But the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now, I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Lovecraft on tobacco and alcohol. Lovecraft hated tobacco, even though he used to smoke when he was 12, in order to look and feel like an adult. In his correspondence with friend Reinhard Kleiner, he claims that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced in his letter to Zelia Brown, dated 13 February 1928. As for the matter of drinking, I have never tasted intoxicating liquor, and never intend to. Having a strong aesthetic disgust at anything which blunts or coarsens the delicate natural apologies, I've never seen that word before. That's interesting. But anyway, equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination. Drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will. I am rather in favor of prohibition. The prohibition of any one antisocial force was as well as any other. Source: The Spirit of Vision, Lovecraft's letter to Celia Brown, Reed Bishop, H.P. Lovecraft, Sheen Branney, and Andrew Lemons, S.T. Joshi. Jesus, that's a fucking long sentence right there. Alright, prohibition. That was a... that was a good time. Yep, that was a good time.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm. A mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat, after my escape from the German man of war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Oh, so they're ready to attack. March! Sea creatures, march! Fuck the human race! It is time for us to live on land! Ha ha ha! Or convert this whole world into the ocean floor, pretty much.
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Well, I'm gonna look at the window instead. You can't make me look at the door. Ha 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 ha. Oh shit, oh shit, okay. Wow.
It shall not find me.
Too late.
God, that hand! The window! The window!
Ooh! Ooh, that's gonna leave a little boo-boo. Thank you for playing. We hope you enjoyed immersing yourself in our little pool of cosmic horror. We would appreciate it if you took a moment to rate Dagon and check out our other games and DLCs. I'll leave feedback, but anyway. I got the feeling it's going to stop the game if I hit exit. So I'm going to leave that alone. Well, I won't leave a feedback on your game page, developer. I will leave my thoughts and opinions right here, though, if it helps of any caliber. Alright, well, that was actually kind of cool. I actually really liked that. Well, definitely, I actually really like the story. Some words are kind of like, I actually need to sit down and, like, reread a couple of times to, like, process it in my head a little bit better. But for the most part, it was actually pretty cool. I do like it when creators and, you know, people try to take, like, simple story ideas and try to, like, make something out of them. Like, I remember a few years back, there was, like, this, kind of a small boom of Shakespeare being converted into manga, which was a pretty cool idea. I got a decent collection of that just because I liked it so much. And I thought it was really cool because it's like Shakespearean. You read Shakespearean and you're like, what the fuck am I reading? But then you get the visual aspect and you're like, oh, okay, this makes more sense now. Okay, I get it now. Like, even if you have to, like, read slowly or have to read the sentence a couple of times, you, like, slowly start making more sense because you're visually seeing it as well as reading it, and it helps. And I feel I was kind of getting, like, vibes like that, you know, from this. Like, I didn't know anything about Dagon. It's my first time ever heard, again, like I said, first time ever, like, reading it, hearing about it, anything about it. And I thought this was done pretty well. I liked how it kind of sucked you into the little story. I think the story mostly did the work, in my personal opinion, but I do like the attention they try to give to the world and try to suck you in quite a bit, and I did enjoy that. Like, the visuals were pretty good, so story was a little bit better, but again, I think the story will always be better, because then you're, like, left to your own imagination, so to speak. But this wasn't too bad. I actually really enjoyed it. And I'm kind of surprised it's free, too. narration was also pretty good. I did enjoy it, and glad someone was reading me a nice little story. Let's see. Music wasn't too bad, very appropriate to what we were going with. It also helped with the immersion a little bit as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Not a lot to say, but other than that, yeah, I enjoyed it. And like they said, it was fairly short, and I can appreciate that. Nice little short little thing. Alright, well, I think I've taken enough of your guys' time. I thank you all for joining me in today's episode, as I am Ter the Fox, you are the viewer, and of course, I hope to see you next time.